Hi Angel, so I'm just gonna kind of show you what I would do in this photo. Since it's a visual process, I thought it might be easier to show you on screen than to try to tell you what I would do. I know that you said that you want to get rid of the background. I'm not sure if it's like the yellow you don't like, but when I look at this photo, the things that bother me are these like distractions going on the side. The yellow itself doesn't really bother me so much. So what I would do is get rid of this stuff that's going on the left and on the right, so that you at least have one whole consistent colored background. And then if you don't like the yellow, you can change the yellow, but at least everything is kind of consistent across the background when you're trying to do that. So first thing I would do would probably be to right click over here on your layers panel and duplicate the layer, just because you don't really want to work on your original just in case something happens to it. So, and I would usually shut the eye off on the original. That way if you make any holes in this one, you know you're actually making a hole as opposed to seeing the original background peek through. And then just make sure that you can see it's blue here. Make sure that your layer is highlighted on the right one that you're working on. And then I might take um, maybe I'll try a spot healing brush. I don't know how well that's gonna work, but it gives you this oops, not what I meant to do. It gives you this brush here. I'm gonna make it a little smaller, not too small, but a little smaller. And what you do with the spot healing brush, I don't know if you've used this before, you may have. Up here you have some options: content aware, create texture, proximity match. That is what's going to come out of your brush. And so I'm going to use content aware, so it's kind of, the brush is sort of aware of what's going on around it. And then you hold, I'm on a Mac, it's Alt Option. It might be controlled on a PC, you'll have to try it. But when you hold that button, your cursor should turn into this target. So you find a spot with your target that you want to pick up your content, and so you click. Spot healing brush tool automatically samples pixels. I don't know, it's just giving you some info. Oh, I guess it's telling me I don't have to manually set it. You could use the healing brush to manually set it. I didn't really read that. So it's telling me I don't even have to do that. So I'm just going to kind of click here and paint this way. Spot healing's not doing what I want it to do. Let's try. Let's try the healing brush instead. So healing brush, that I'm going to make bigger. So that was spot healing. It told me if I want to pick up my own content to use healing, so that's what I'm going to do. So now I'm on the healing brush. I'm going to hit that option, give me my little target, click. So then I'm picking up the yellow. And now, there we go. See when my mouse hovers over, I'm carrying that over with me. Now it looks like that all looks alright. It's kind of doing it very lightly, so I might have to go over it a few times. But the reason that this is better than just doing like fill it with yellow is that you can see I'm actually carrying like the texture of the wall with it. And you can probably see that my target keeps popping up, so I want to keep like double dipping into my target there, because what can happen is if I paint too long, it can actually start to pick up different edges. So if I just went like, you can see here it's actually kind of starting to bring a little bit of the white back into my original wall. I'm going to just kind of come down here and get rid of my sharp edges that are on my original wall first, because I can bring more yellow over after. And I'm going to make my brush a little smaller so I can come down here around Taryn's chair. See how it just left this dark mark? I don't like that, so I'm going to do Command Z and undo that. It's actually picking up information from her chair and trying to carry it over, which I don't want. So that's kind of the one bad thing with the spot healing brush, is you can pick up stuff that you don't really want. See, I did it again. So I'm not going to get too close to her chair. I'll worry about that when I get to it. But I am going to get rid of this wall. And so here you can see it's actually only picking up the whites and the grays from around here. It's actually totally lost the yellow, which is fine, because we don't really want to carry yellow down here. Oops. I get a little bit of that action going on again. I'm going to undo that. And so you can actually make more of a mess with the spot healing brush than you started with. So like there, like that looks awful. You can see the shape of my brush there, so I'm going to undo that. I'm going to try from another angle. Try to carry down that way, and that's a little better. So now, at least that hard edge is gone. We still have a color difference here. It's still yellow bleeding into white, but that's something we can kind of work with a little more. That looks good. So I'm going to switch on my mode. I don't know if this is going to do what I want it to do, but I'm going to try. I'm going to switch to color mode. So the only thing I'm actually picking up with my brush now is color. So hopefully it can just pick up some of the yellow and it can ignore everything else that's going on. I'm going to make it kind of big, get my target, get some of this yellow, and start to bleed that yellow over. And I may have to do it every time. Every time my brush goes over white, it's trying to drag some white with it. I'm noticing, I'm going to zoom in because I can't tell if it's my eyes or my computer, or we got a little light action going on there. I think that's where the seam of the wall was, so I'm going to try to kind of blob that out. I'm going to try it on the other side just to see if we can get, I don't necessarily mind that the wall is kind of like ombre, if you will, from yellow to white, but let's see what it does on this side. Let's see if it's, I just noticed that I had a color going on here. I don't think that'll make a difference, but I'm wondering if that makes any difference as to what it's picking up. So I'm going to go back to my normal, and so over here I'm going to click. Let's see. So in that one, that actually carried the wall with it. So we're going to click and carry again. We can basically just kind of push that wall off the page. I'm also noticing this is carrying my yellow. So I do think that I didn't even think to look down here. I didn't have black and white. I had like some color action going on there. So I think that's why it's not carrying my yellow over on the other side. So I'll go back and adjust that. And so this does look like It's going to cover over the brown pretty decent. It's still a little of that kind of ombre-esque look. Make this a little smaller so I can go down around you here. Maybe not that small. Click. So the smaller your brush when you're doing this, you can fit into some good spaces, but you also kind of increase your chances of seeing lots of little circular shaped brush marks, whereas the big one is kind of like a big beast that can kind of sweep right over everything. You can see how I'm getting all these little jaggeds here, which is actually fine because I can come back in once I've kind of like, let's just say right here, I've gone around your shoulder, so I've kind of cleaned up around your shoulder. Once I've done that, I don't have to get that close to you anymore, so I can actually go in with my big brush and just kind of smooth out the space without worrying that I'm getting too close to any of my subjects. And it is picking up a little bit of your sweater there, and I'm going to try to skirt by the best I can. Thankfully your sweater is very light, so it's not going to be super noticeable. My brain works faster than my fingers when I'm doing this, so I'm like clicking the wrong thing. And so like here, I'm definitely kind of picking up some white from your shirt, but also this space is coming out a little too light. It's absorbing like a mix of colors from somewhere that don't necessarily match that part of the wall, because not all parts of the wall have the same colors. Like down behind, oops, see how that did? Whoa, I want to do that. So down here, I may just want to pick up some of this and just kind of blend away these edges. Just because we can see a little bit of. You can see there, sometimes the problem with that though is you try to blend away some edges and you actually create more edges. They're just different edges. Oop, I got some of your sweater there. So it could be that my brush is too big for this space. So I'm just gonna make that smaller. We'll try doing some painting here. And we just want to, you're never going to get it perfect, but you just want to take away as many of the distractions as you can. The less distracting it is, the less people's eyes will gravitate towards it. So nothing actually has to be perfect. I can come up and touch up around your shoulder afterward. Alright, so now you can see, at least it's all one solid color, sort of. It fades a little the orange on the side and a little the white on the side. So I'm going to go back to the big brush, now that I've fixed my colors, and I'm going to try to pull some of this yellow over. It really doesn't want to pull that yellow over. What I am going to do is I have this big highlight here. I don't know if you can see that. I like do not like that. So I'm going to get rid of it. That's better. Oops, I just cut off Garv's head. Alright, so that's better. get rid of some of these highlights here. I don't know what's creating them, so I want them gone. Alright, so now we've got this kind of white and this over here, but at least it's like a solid background. What I'm gonna try, and once again, Photoshop is like just trying things. So I'm gonna try a patch tool. I don't know if this will work. I don't know if you've used patch, but with patch, I'm gonna take a chunk and circle it, and then I'm gonna move it to something that I wish it looked like. This white stuff is tough. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. So that's not working either. Let's get rid of that. What do we got? Let's try patch tool. Let's try. What we can do, I don't know if this will work either. We can maybe do a background copy. So we'll duplicate the layer. And then I'm going to actually move this layer over. And then I know that I have my background copy under that, so I'm actually going to use my layers. So I'm going to come down here to the little thing that looks like a camera. Click that, so I have this white thing here, and then with my black brush, regular paintbrush, black brush, I'm going to use a really soft edge and a kind of big brush, kind of bigger than that, and it's got a low opacity. I'm going to kind of start to I actually did that the wrong way. I'm going to back up. Undo brush. I'm going to back up to here. So I have my layer mask. That was not what I wanted to do. So I do want my layer mask, but I'm not going to erase this part up here. I'm actually going to scoot this whole layer over just a little bit more to the right. I'm going to move that. And so now I got my corners around my white here. I'm going to use this brush. I'm actually going to increase my opacity a little bit because I want it to work pretty well, low, hard. And now I'm actually going to start erasing people. Because I don't want anybody that's on the top layer showing. I want the people from the bottom layer to show. So, kind of a phantom thing going on here. Alright, before I go over and do the whole left hand side, I'm just going to see if this works over here. So we've got that. Now we can do, select this, copy, put it right here though, copy, and paste. So I have that square. I'm going to do Command T. So right now I'm in between the bottom layer and this top layer. I'm actually going to cover the whole wall, hit enter, and then I'm going to start to do a layer mask on that one. So I added a layer mask on this square, And I'm gonna still just lower my opacity a little bit so it's a little more see-through, and I'm gonna try to blend away this edge. Blend away this edge. And so get rid of that. And so now what you're going to have to do if you do it this way is you're really going to have to get in and do the fine details to bring people on the edges back. So right now, let's see, I'm going to blend that a little more. I'm going to make my brush a lot smaller, and I'm going to make my edge a lot harder because I don't want it to look like as I come in here and do the edge of Taryn's chair, I don't want it to look like it's lurking out of the mist. I want like a hard edge on the chair. I'm going to go like that. I'm just kind of rushing through this. Obviously, I think you'd want to do it with a little more finesse. And you can see every time I go over it, because I still do have a little bit of opacity on my brush, every time I go over it, it's kind of strengthening the opacity, and eventually it will get up to 100%. But that's kind of a good way to make sure that you don't get totally ahead of yourself, and then you can go up to a 100% opacity and do kind of like a finalized. Bring the table back. Whoa, something crazy just happened. There we go. So I'm going to get rid of all these edges. And the other thing too, if I were to go like, whoops, oh, that's not what I wanted, I can switch to my white brush. And I can come in there. And I can re-yellow wall with my white brush. I'm doing this on a click pad. I don't have a mouse, so my my straight line skills are like a little rough around the edges. So obviously that's not perfect down there. It still needs work, but I'm just kind of trying to give you an example. And so we got some ghosting action, Gaurav peeking, and you're double layered. But that's what I would do. So I would do the same thing on this side, you know, make a bigger brush. I would do the same thing. Duplicate this layer. And I'm duplicating this layer because we want as much of this original wall to be peeking through over here as possible. This yellow square I'm using to fill in down here where there's not enough yellow, but you can kind of see here, like it kind of gets a weird stretch texture when you start moving that. It's a little textured up here. It's not as smooth as the center area, so we actually want to use the real center area wherever we can. And then I'm going to move this layer to the left, like that. And then on this one, I'm going to go back to my brush, and on here, I'm going to start erasing. Erase you guys and let the original versions of you guys show through over here. I also probably need to go back to this one. What I'm going to do to make it easy, on my right hand blend, I'm going to actually click on my thing here. I'm going to use my marquee tool. I'm going to go about halfway across the screen, maybe a little more. And I'm going to do Command D. Nope, that was white. I'm going to do Command. Oh, I don't have backspace on here because I'm on a keyboard. Oh, and I'm going to do Alt Delete. There we go. Sorry. So Alt Delete will fill it all with my foreground color. Command Delete will fill it all with my background color. So I just filled the whole thing with black, so that I got rid of this whole side of this picture because that doesn't affect this. So likewise, if I go up to this one that's editing my left side of the screen, I can use my marquee. I can highlight the whole right side. I'm going to do Alt-Delete, fill that all with this color. And so now we've got a little seam there, but this whole side's hidden. I'm going to go back to my mask here, back to my brush, Command D to deselect. And I'm going to go back to erasing the ghosty versions, you guys. I know this seems like maybe this is like a long rigmarole way around, but I feel like there's no, you're literally trying to make something where something doesn't exist, so there isn't necessarily like a fast answer to anything. Galen's still got some ghosty stuff. She's got like Kristen's lap on her, so we'll fix that before I forget. And that's on this bottom one. And let's see if the seam, blend that right in. Obviously this is not perfect. This like erasing action. I'm gonna lower my opacity a little bit. The low opacity is sometimes a good way to blend weird lines or edges that you see because you're doing it so little at a time that it kind of fools your eye a little bit. So now we go back up to this one, click on the picture, not the mask, and we make a marquee. We want to copy that much, Command C, Command V. Now we got our square, Command T, bring our square down. We add a mask to our square. And now with the mask on our square, we go back to our brush, we click on our mask, and we start erasing. And same as, oh, we got a little Gara's head peeking through here. Let me get rid of that before I forget, or I don't see it anymore. Really low opacity right now, so that's, there we go. So I'm gonna come in here and start to bring you guys back. And once again, same as with Taryn's side of the photo, we may have to bring the brush down. We can bring back yellow where we need it, like around your hair here. And we can start to slowly edit things like that. Then I'm also going to remember that I want this to blend into my wall. So I'm going to do a big brush with a low opacity. And I'm going to start to get rid of this. My brush opacity, oh, I'm doing white, that's why. With black paint. I'm going to start to get rid of this edge so that like the other yellow shows through. And it's kind of okay that this gets darker as you go down because it would get darker. So once I've gone all the way down and I've cleaned up both sides, I would probably just go around and kind of do a little bit of blending to smooth out the background. But at least this way, you're going to end up with a totally solid background so you don't have that stuff behind you. Like I said, I don't know if it's the yellow you didn't like or if it was just that it was kind of a mishmashed background, but I think if you really clean up the edges like this and put it all against a solid background, that it could look nice, and then you can always change the color a little bit after. So I'm going to send you this video and see if that's what you're interested in, and I'm going to save this copy on my computer, so if you decide like this is not something you want to play with, I can finish editing this and really clean it up for you. Or if it's something I wasn't sure if it was something that you wanted to practice your Photoshop skills with, or if you just wanted a final copy. So just let me know either way. Okay, bye.